What's up, everybody? I was told too late that I should make this into a bit of a show, so here we are. This is me making my Halloween costume. Got fabric at Walmart today because there's nothing else available. So this is fabric number 1. It's like a satiny orange, and then I've got so much of this blue. I'm not gonna tell you what the costume is. Just gonna have to wait and find out, see if you can guess it. I treat my sewing like I treat my cooking, which is recipes are for cowards, so I'm just making this up as I go. We'll see if this turns into anything. I'm also like 85% self-taught in sewing. I've already got armbands. I'm working on a top now. Oofda. What I just finished was part of the top. So what we've got here, so I French seamed most of the seams. What happened here is I made it, I had measured it out and put it all together, but then it was too small. So I just like straight up cut in the middle and then inserted a panel. And the fun thing about stretch fabrics is this is only a one-way stretch, so you can see it doesn't stretch this way, but it does this way. And so I have the stretch so it doesn't stretch side to side around the front and the two side panels. But then what I've got here is, this is what I inserted in the back so that it would actually fit, is that now the stretch is this way so that I can actually get this over my head. Don't worry about these. This is just wet spots from the hot steam from pressing the fabric. My sewing machine doesn't like these bits of super thick fabric as much, and so if I press it so that it lays flat, it's better. If I was a professional and wanted to, I could finish up those better. The lady of the hour is my beautiful sewing machine. I've had this for many a year. I brought this with me to school every single year. This was my great aunt's. It smells like either weed or skunk, which is two very different vibes. I need to make 2 pairs of shorts. I need one that's a spandexy kind of vibe with my blue fabric, and one that's more of like a boxer short kind of vibe, I think is what I'm gonna be going for, if that's the right word, with the orange to go over. That'll be shorter. My main problem is that I do not have a shorts pattern, so I'm literally gonna take a pair of shorts that I have and then use that to make my shorts, I guess. And I have, I've got a pair of like spandex shorts that I can use pretty much accurately for the blue part, but for the orange ones, I don't have anything that looks like how I want it to look. So once again, I'm just gonna make it up. Some obligatory Jasper content. He's been running around. He was playing with my fabric earlier. It was over on the floor by his water bowl because I'm using this as my cutting surface. And it got all tangled up and he spilled his water. But I've learned now, just give him one of his toys and that keeps him out of the way. This way he doesn't keep trying to jump in frame. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have a little bit of an idea what I'm doing. We'll figure it out. All right. Hello and welcome back to me on the floor. So what we're doing next is the second part of the top. And what I'm thinking is, see, I'm not exactly sure how I want to do it because I had it as a fancy wrap kind of vibe in my head, but the way I was imagining it just like straight up isn't possible. This is Jasper's favorite pastime, is making my life harder. He just comes over and lays down. Jasper, this isn't for you. I need that. Jasper, I need that. Please, sir, sir. There'll be 2 layers. The bottom layer will be flat, and then I think I'm gonna do the top layer however much wider so that I can ruche it a little bit. That gives it more of like a drapey feel. I don't know if ruching is the right word, but I know what I mean. So that's all that matters, right? Hi, Jasper. I took some measurements. Guess I'm just gonna write that out and cut it up. The other really fun part is I straight up do not have a straight edge, so I'm just guessing. And, you know, in cutting things, but also in most things in life, I do struggle to do things straight, so we'll see. Alright, so I realized I'm maybe actually making this harder on myself than I need to by making the orange part 2 layers. So I'm gonna walk you through a, oh my god, what's the word? Hey Jasper, what am I thinking of? French seam. Okay, so first of all, what we're gonna do is, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a really long stitch across the end here. I'm not gonna do a back stitch so it doesn't lock, which means that I'll be able to pull on a thread and this will gather up, which is maybe called ruching. I don't remember. And that way it'll, instead of being flat, it will be gathered. All right, so I'm just gonna start by the long stitch that I was talking about, and then we'll go from there. I'm just gonna gather this like this, and then what I end up with is a gathered edge. I do my measurements of lengths and everything in centimeters because metric for life, but I do the very little teaching that I got for like seam allowance and all that jazz, I do those in inches, so all of my notes are 29 centimeter length plus 2/4 inch seam allowance. So just a fun vibe from me. I haven't done a Halloween costume in like a for real one in many a year. It started off as a joke, and then I said, you know, famous last words, probably wouldn't be too hard to do, right? My ends are gathered. I'm going to now French seam. So what we're gonna do, usually when you're sewing things, you've got your right side and your wrong side. The right side is the side you want to see, the wrong side is the side you don't want to see. And so when you're sewing, what you do a lot of the time, you will put your right sides together so that when you fold it out, you know, you've got your seam and then the seam on the inside, so you can't see that. What a French seam does is it takes that one step further. The inside of the seam isn't just fringy edges, it's another seam inside. So instead of starting with your right sides together, you start with your wrong sides together and you do one extra seam folding. You get it all fancy nice. What I've done is I've sewn this down so that the ruching that I did will stay. And then you can see the difference between the right side and the wrong side of the fabric. The right side is much shinier. And so if I were to just leave it like this, I would have the gross seams on the outside where they don't want to be seen. No matter how many times I do this, I always think I've done it wrong. So now what I'm gonna do is much neater than this. I'll sew across here. When I turn it back out, it'll be just a seam like this, and then all this gross stuff will be contained on the inside. One of the bummers of fabric like this is that it sheds a lot. I might burn them and then double them up. Because it's a synthetic fabric, that means that instead of like catching on fire, I mean it will if you do it wrong, but it'll just melt and congeal, and then I'll get less of these stringy boys, and it'll be a lot easier to work with. Do I know what I'm doing? Not really. I don't usually do this with my point shoes, but a lot of dancers will do this to their point shoe ribbons to avoid fraying. I don't even know if I'm doing this correctly, but it's working, so. I think I'm maybe doing it a little bit too much because I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of fabric shrinking happening. It smells like burning a little bit. That's fun. Here's to hoping I don't set myself, my work, or the apartment on fire. So my machine is from my great aunt, who is either way cooler than I thought she was, or her place just smelled like old lady because she was an old lady. Another fun vibe is that I, most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, straight up just don't use pins. Because, why, you know? Alright gang, so I'm gonna stop here because I've got the top half done. I don't know why I did the easy part first. This is gonna suck. See you next time. Hello and welcome back once again to me on the floor. We're gonna try to make some shorts today. Should I be doing homework right now? Maybe. Am I? Definitely not. My life is a mess. But I've got the shirt tucked into the sweatpants, so I feel like that's something going for me at least, right? Anyway, I'm sorry. Welcome to me on the floor doing my best, featuring Jasper doing his best to make this as hard as possible for me. So what we're doing here is making sure that my fabric is folded, because when you're cutting out pattern pieces, a lot of the time, you're gonna need two of the same thing. And I'll tell you, a wonderful way to do that is to have your fabric folded in half, so that when you cut, you are making two pieces. My thought process here is I've got these old shorts that fit. I just want my pair that I'm making to be a little bit longer. So I'm just gonna, it's got 4 pieces. I'm so glad that you're having fun. I have the fabric police too. Jasper. I love you so much, please stop. Here, Jasper, try with the pencil. Anyway, if I just fold this in a way that is just the piece that I want, it's basically a pattern. I don't need to spend money on patterns. So I've got it folded like this, so it's just one piece of this. And then I'm gonna outline it and then cut it out. No. Just gonna add on several inches here, and I can always make them shorter. Please don't. Oh shoot. I forgot to check which way the stretch goes. You guys. I did it some ways. I wanna... God dang it. See, the stretch on the fabric is going not sideways. If I want it to stretch around my legs, I would like it to stretch sideways. God dang it. Long story short, because I don't know what I'm doing, I'm making this a lot harder on myself than it needs to be. Now that I have one part of my front, I'm gonna cut that out, and then we'll cut out the other part of the front, and then we'll trace and cut out the back properly this time. I've now got the back properly marked out and sketched so that I can cut it out. I had to use my front pieces to make sure I was adding the right amount to the top and to the bottom, because the other thing with not having a pattern is if you make a change on one thing, you gotta make sure you're doing it right on the other. Gorgeous. Now I've got all 4 of my pieces cut out and probably roughly correct. Now I just need to remember how to put together a pair of shorts. I've made a bunch of shorts in the past, but back then I always had a pattern, and with a pattern comes instructions on what happens next. I think I remember. At the end of this, we're either gonna have a pair of shorts or something that is definitely not a pair of shorts. So, wish me luck. I did some thinking, and I'm like 90% sure I remember how to do this. It'll be trial and error for sure, but I'm fairly confident in my ability to get this on the right try. I'm pretty sure what I need to be doing is I want to sew the front and back seam first on both the front, so the fronts together and the backs together. And then what I want to do is sew the side seams together, so I've got one big loop, and then after I've got that all figured out, the bottom, the crotch seams need to get together somehow, but I don't. We'll burn that bridge when we get there. I'm gonna go a little off book here and pin some of this stuff together, just cause, look like on the edge. Cool. First half of French seam complete. I'm going to maybe know where my scissors are. Hello? Oh. Another thing you can do when French seaming is that, I mean, the biggest issue that happens with them is that these little fringy bits will poke through your nice seam on the other side, and so what you can do is you can trim it down a little bit so that you don't have to worry about any of that messing up your gorgeous French seam. Don't know where Jasper ended up, but I'm not complaining too much. It seems like his favorite part is jumping on the fabric when I'm trying to lay it out flat and cut it up. So now that I'm not doing that anymore and he can't be as much of a nuisance to me, he's decided that it's not worth his energy. I did it again. Did you see the fear in my eyes? I thought I sewed it wrong. I could press these seams. Sometimes more work is worth it, but I just refuse to accept that. Let me do less work, even if it makes my life harder in the end. Instant gratification. But not even because it's actively harmful to me. Look at that seam. Beautiful. That looks like the front half of some shorts, maybe. I'm very smart. Just kidding. Maybe I should do a blog about sewing. I mentioned at one point that for this class that I'm in, we have to start a whole entire blog. So it's like, what do I do? What? Why? Can I just submit my Twitter account where I identify birds 24/7 and say, here, this is my contribution. Now let me live my life. Pins make things look nice in the end, but in the moment, they're just like really a hassle, which is why I usually skip them. Which isn't a good habit. But again, hey, look, I'm not a professional. Don't listen to me. I do really enjoy sewing because it's just constant problem solving, especially the way I sew, which is, again, just making it as hard as possible on myself. Because what's life without a little challenge, right? I feel like I could go on one of those like Project One Way kind of shows, because they're like, oh no, time constraints, oh no, we gotta do something, we gotta figure it out. This is so hard, I'm used to ideal sewing conditions. And I'm like, I don't know, I just make it up as I go. What do you want, a pair of shorts in 10 minutes? Whatever. I'll make it work. I'll do 20 things to make it harder on myself and still maybe end up with a pair of shorts. I think I would be excommunicated immediately from any sort of serious sewing community. They'd be like, what are you doing? Get out of here. Do better. I'm just having fun, you know? Look at that. That's 2 whole halves of a pair of shorts. Will they fit? Who knows? Yeah. Hey, you guys, I did it. I'm very cool and sexy and smart, and I did it. I remembered correctly. I might not French seam the sides. I probably, well, if I wanted it to look all neat and polished, I could. These shorts don't stretch quite as much as the ones I was modeling them after. And a French seam just, you know, takes out that much more fabric from the stretch. So I'm not gonna sue me. Should I have pinned this? Yes. Too late to go back now. There's another benefit of the French seam is that it's got 2 lines of stitching to make sure something stays in place. And if I were to just leave it at this, it would just be the 1. But what I can do instead of something like that is I'll do a zigzag stitch down along the excess fabric here, and so that'll help lock it in place. Gorgeous. I'm very good at this. I'm just very cool and very powerful and did just correctly on the first attempt with no pattern make a pair of shorts. I tried them on and they fit. They aren't quite as high-waisted as I was wanting them to be, so I'm gonna just make a quick waistband and add that on. But let me just show you the part real quick that I'm most proud of, which is this. What we've got is this right here. You can see that's the seam and it comes together perfectly. It's good is what I'm saying. That's a good thing. You want it to line up well, and I did it. I regret to inform you that I got cocky. I didn't think it through well enough when I was attaching the waistband, and I accidentally attached it so that the seam was on the outside where it was not supposed to be, in fact. on the list of things where that seam was supposed to be. Outside is the bottom of the list, so I'm gonna rip it out and then fix it. We're back. This video is just becoming one long paid product placement. So we're doing the last and hardest part today. So I'm gonna start off with, I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry, is this inconvenient for you? Is this inconvenient, sir? I live in fear that my roommate is gonna just turn up while I'm filming. I think I know how this is gonna work. I'm gonna use the seam from these shorts, the inseam, whatever, the crotch seam, the long one, from these shorts at the front and the back, and then I'll go down a little bit, and then I'm gonna shape them differently, and then we'll just kind of see what happens. The man of the hour. Please stay off the fabric. I'm begging you. Hey, look, can we have a moment here? Thank you for your attention. Jasper, real quick. Jasper. Come here. Oh my god. So I'm tracing on the wrong side of the fabric. So I don't have to deal with fabric stretching, but I do have to deal with the fraying that happens. So we're gonna figure it out. Probably. Jasper, what's this? So the reason I'm making 2 pairs of shorts is I've got the longer ones underneath, and then I'll have the shorter ones up above, and instead of having a side seam, I'm just gonna have that like slit, and then it'll overlap in the waistband. Jasper. It makes sense to me, so that's all that matters. I'm gonna lock you in a room. This is my nightmare. I'm not holding myself to this, but if I have enough fabric, I'm gonna make myself a cape too, because I can. It has nothing to do with the costume, it doesn't match with the costume, but you know, if I have the ability to make a cape, why wouldn't I make a cape, you know? No. We'll call this good. Brief interlude to help my brother with his chemistry homework. The boy is on the couch, which means he's not gonna bug me while I'm getting the fabric all figured out. Nice. Okay, so I cut out the front and I burned the edges, but now I'm gonna do the back. Really the important thing here is curve, because it's like slightly different in the front and the back. And so that's mainly what I'm using these for. Make the rest up. I'm realizing how tired I am and how little energy I have right now. I might just finish this tomorrow because apparently not sleeping until 3 a.m. a week in a row. Not the best. So Jasper says, don't involve me in this. I'm going to burn these and then do the rest tomorrow. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Hey, what's up? We're gonna finish this thing today. What's this, outfit number 4? Previously on me doing my best. So I've got my pieces for the second pair of shorts all cut out. I have not done the waistband yet, but I feel like I need to figure these out first. Love to see it. Okay. We're gonna start by doing the French seam these. So I wanna do wrong sides together. I burned all the edges already. I know this is a shock, but I'm gonna pin this. My pin cushion is currently in my tripod, so don't at me. This fabric is just kind of like a nightmare to work with. Dropped a pin. I'm just vibing, you know? feel like I should press this. I just like kind of really don't want to. Front of shorts. Possible front of shorts. This may be very wrong. So sorry. Don't at me. In case you're wondering, I do currently have Fall Out Boy stuck in my head, so. Humble brag. Once again, should I press this? Yes. I just really don't want to, so I'm not gonna. I might have just goofed a little bit. Haha, I did not goof a little bit. I might still end up reshaping these, but I think they're turning out pretty okay. So if I was making, oh my god. So if I was making a real pair of shorts and doing it like I did the other ones, I would do the side seams before I did the crotch. But because I am gonna try to overlap and like have it be a different kind of vibe, and I don't know exactly how I want that overlap to work, I'm gonna do this bottom seam first, and then it'll be like 85% ready. I just need to do the waistband, because right now this is wider than it needs to be, and instead of, you know, meeting on the side, I'm gonna go for a bit of an overlap, because I'm not really actually even gonna sew the side seams shut. I'm just gonna have them be open because I've got that other pair of shorts underneath. It'll be something. Time to make the waistband. All right, so I've cut out what's gonna be my waistband. I'm gonna fold it right sides together. I burned the short ends, I could burn the long ends, but that just seems like a lot of work, so I'm just gonna sew it real quick, and then I'll burn the long ends and they'll stick together, ideally. Here's a better angle. I am not gonna French seam the waistband because 1, I'm lazy, and 2, it's gonna get attached to the rest of the shorts, so I figured it's not worth the extra effort. Because, returning to point 1, I'm lazy. Is this fully even? No. Do I care? So now I've got 1 long tube. I don't really need to do this. This is all gonna be on the inside of the tube anyway, but I figure, why not? Okay, so, wrong sides, gross fringes, but now I get to turn it inside out, and it's just gonna be a lovely little tube for me. How my roommate's coming. I mentioned earlier about how this is not a stretch fabric. Non-stretch fabrics and waistbands are a little bit different than stretch fabrics, because with a stretch fabric you gotta make sure the stretch is going the right way and that you're allowing for enough stretch but not too much stretch and all that jazz. But with non-stretch you have to make it bigger than or the exact amount of width that you need, because, you know, you have your certain spot and you're not getting any bigger than that. So I cut this to be a larger circumference than I needed it to be, so that I can stick my elastic in it, and then it will be bunched and still be able to stretch out to get over my hips. So now that I've got it inside out, I just need to feed my elastic through. It's like a stocking stuffer. I can't even give you fun Jasper content because he's just asleep on the top of his cat tree. I'm gonna need to pause this while I figure out how in the Sam heck I'm gonna get the shorts to work. Because the closer I get to attaching the waistband to the shorts, the more I realize I don't know how I want this to work. Okay, cool. All right, so how many of you who actually know how to sew were yelling at me when I put the elastic in the waistband first? Because I have decided that that was the wrong idea. So I've connected the waistband sans elastic to my shorts, And I'm gonna sew that on, excluding this little bit in the back. And then, after it's all attached, I'll add the waistband and then sew the waistband together and then finish it up. And then we'll have ourselves a pair of shorts. And I attached the waistband correctly on the first try this time. Could I have done this better? Yes. Waistband's a little tight to get on, but I did it. So I think my main problem is I was measuring against shorts that stretched at all. These don't. I done goofed. But I'm gonna make it work. Is my back seam going to line up? No. Is it my fault? Yes. I did it. I'm gonna hand stitch the loop and close because I can invisible stitch it and then it'll be more inconspicuous. Oh, I bet I can even make it line up how I want it to. I love hand stitching. This was way easier than I thought it was gonna be. The waistband is gonna give me some issues because thighs, all we've got left is the reveal. Get ready to see what this is, I guess. I'm sure you all looked at my color palette and said, obviously, this is Goku. Well, congratulations, you were right, but you're missing the most important fact about this, which is that I am sexy Goku. So listen, I've got my wonderful slit up the side. It worked. My series of tubes. I call my top the internet. Why? Because it's a series of tubes. Anyway, the only thing I'm missing is a best friend necklace. One half of a best friend necklace. Naruto has the other half. This worked out surprisingly well, before you ask. No, I do not know anything about Goku. The only thing I know is that his best friend is Naruto, no matter what you tell me. Why did I do this? I'm so sorry to everyone who watched this video just to see this at the end. I hope you can see my inspiration here. It is the color palette of Goku, and I feel like this is the real content you want. Nobody's here for the sewing content. You're only here for the Jasper content. And I am too, if I'm being real. Jasper is the light of my life, but also the biggest pain. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry that you watched this, and I'm sorry that I made it.